Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? Hope everyone's having a better day than I am. I assume you are. By existing, you are probably doing better than me. That being said, let's get to work because there's a lot to talk about today, and I don't know how much time I'm going to be able to get in here. And there's some things I wasn't able to finish at the end that I have to do while I'm doing the video. So this is going to be a long one, I think, but we'll see. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible. So I want to start off now, and I want to start off quickly because there is a showdown game that goes off at 105. And I do like talking about that. I want to be able to, at least give some advice, excuse me, about that kind of stuff. Let me pull out everything here. I have to have everything separated. I got my chat. Hey, Grace, how you doing today? Let's see here. Okay, so now I got everything going here. I should be able to navigate everything a little better. So we have the one game showdown today. The only game at 105 is between the White Sox and the Nationals. We have two terrible pitchers going here. So the one thing is, while Dylan Covey has been really bad lately, Anibal Sanchez has been actually somewhat decent, surprisingly, lately. Do I have this on the wrong date? I do. I tried to do everything to get prepared for this, and it did not happen as quickly as I was hoping, unfortunately. Okay, here we go. So if you are looking just at FIP and that kind of thing, Anibal Sanchez has been the second best pitcher pitching today, just going over the last couple of weeks, which is something you're not really going to say very many days when there's 15 games going. Look at it over again. Last couple of weeks, Sanchez had a 10.5 strikeouts per nine, which is fantastic. 1.5 walks per nine, which is okay, not great, but his WHIP is 0.33. He's not fully climbing the stairs because his ERA is 0, but his FIP is 1.32 and his xFIP is 3.24, and then the Sierra actually goes down under 3 to 2.89. That third lowest of anybody pitching today, fourth lowest, excuse me. Cal Quantrill is lower too, but we'll get into that later. So Anibal Sanchez has been in really good form lately, and he's going against a really bad White Sox offense. That being said, they did go off against Strasburg the other day. Any given day, any offense can do anything. We have to understand that any pitcher can do bad, any offense can do good. We need to understand that that's part of the variance of baseball. What we can do is take all the information and figure out what the important information is. So today for the showdown, you're basically going to have two choices, right? As I see it. Obviously, if you're playing 150 lineups, go nuts, do whatever you want. I'm going to avoid Covey no matter what, even at the incredibly ridiculous price of $7,600 on a showdown. I think it's more likely that he ends up in the negative than he ends up in the positive, and that's with him having 20.1 and 14.5 DKP in his last two starts. He's just not a good pitcher, and this is a Nats team that's been hitting really hot right now. So I will get into that more specifically lately, but the option you're going to have is, are you going to go all bats or are you going to go Anibal Sanchez? If you go Anibal Sanchez, I would suggest going all in on Anibal Sanchez. Go captain because he's going to have the upside. I can understand, not wanting to do that, but he is $1,200 cheaper than Rendon. He is $600 cheaper than Kendrick, and he is $200 cheaper than Soto. So you get a pitcher that's going to have a much better floor, again, if you think he's going to do well, a much better floor than anybody else, with a very high ceiling. And that's going to be the fourth most expensive guy on this slate. So given all of the upside and everything else, if you believe that Sanchez is going to pitch well, I would lock him in as a captain. If not, the Padres lineup just came out, so I can update that in a little bit. I need the Dodgers too, and then we have everything on the 3 o'clock slate. Thank you, artists. Thank you very much. I did some good with the predicting yesterday. There was a few things, I got some of the pitching wrong, but the pitching yesterday was a barn fire. I got Baltimore. I said stack Baltimore, and I said that I wouldn't stack the Marlins, but I liked them, and I was going to play Jose Alfaro. And I did wind up playing him. He got 14 DKP. Granted, he could have, I chose him over Severino when I was doing Baltimore. So that was not a good decision, but I'm still happy that I got, I had pitching yesterday. Artists pitching yesterday, saying it's a dumpster fire is like being mean to dumpster fires. That's how bad it was. So anyway, let's get back into this one game because we only have 15 minutes now. So Dylan Covey shows no splits. So that means that looking at splits and who's going against him doesn't really matter in terms of like what he contributes to it. So we can get those tiebreakers from what the batters have. So we would be looking ideally for a left-handed batter with extreme normal splits. And in the confirmed Nationals lineup for today, there are two of those batters, Juan Soto and Matt Adams. Juan Soto, on top of being perfect splits-wise for this matchup, is also incredibly hot right now. I'm going to go over the stats right now with you. Over the last week, 1.200 OPS with a 389 ISO, 488 WOBA, weighted runs created of 6. Weighted runs created plus of 205. So Soto has been on fire lately. So what I would do is, again, if you are going the I like Sanchez route, he's been in good form lately. The White Sox are a bad offense. I would play Anibal Sanchez as the captain. If you are going both these pitchers suck and I don't care about recent form tack, which is probably a lot more sensical given the amount of history you have for Anibal Sanchez. My favorite pick for captain is going to be Juan Soto. I know you're paying up the $15,000 for him, but there are some cheaper bats that I really don't mind. So let's go over that really quickly because, again, now we're getting to the 10 minutes left phase, and I want you guys to have a few minutes to look over things. There are 6 batters that classify as hot if you go by the stats that I just went over with you when talking about Juan Soto, OPS, weighted runs created, ISO, WOBA, all that kind of stuff. The advanced crap that I get that I've studied that I can tell you if it means anything. And, when all those things say one thing, it means that over the last week, that batter has been hitting really well. And, baseball is a very streaky sport. People get hot, people get cold, and that is, one of the things you have to learn how to play. There's a lot of things to consider in baseball, and recent form is one of the more significant ones. So, one of the things that we can look at is who's been hot lately. So we have Moncada and Yolmer Sanchez for the White Sox who've been hot lately. Moncada, who is someone, if you've played these showdowns before, that would have been close to 10,000 on most of these, is only 8,200. So we have 7,200 left per player. I think that's a good play. So I would play him. Yolmer Sanchez is the other one who's been hot lately. He is the cheapest person on this slate. He is only 4,400, which is absolutely fantastic. On the other side of the game, you have Rendon, Kendrick, and Suzuki, who are all hot lately. I think, again, those are all fantastic plays, Rendon and Kendrick specifically. But, I would basically try to, again, if you're not playing the Anibal Sanchez as captain thing, then I would look to get Soto as the captain if you can fit it in, and then a combination of Moncada, Sanchez, Rendon, Kendrick, and Suzuki. Matt Adams also matches up really well. Adam Eaton matches up perfectly as a lefty with extreme normal splits, and he's been heating up lately. So, there are a lot of good plays here offensively that are underpriced. Adams 7,400, Eaton 7,200. Neither of those guys should be that cheap. So we really do have a lot of options to choose from of people that line line up incredibly well against this. So, you can work around and, or excuse me, you can, build as many different lineups as you want. You could see, like, let's see, I'll cancel this out, clear. Let's see what happens. Yolmer Sanchez is hot. What happens if I put him at captain? If I put Yolmer Sanchez at captain, I have 8,680 that I can spend per person. That means that I can do basically whatever I want, right? That gives me a lot. So even though Castillo has been cold, you can fit in all the expensive dudes you want, and you'd still be at an absolutely fine shape. You can still get a full lineup going. It may not be the best lineup. It may not have the highest projection, but, there are ways to fit everybody in here and have no problem, filling a lineup with decent people. The one thing I will note is Castillo's only had one at bat over the last week. So I didn't want to label him as cold, even though he did not do anything with that one at bat. So while I can't, say for sure that he's going to do well today, I think that it is a sneaky play because Castillo is hitting fourth. He is the cleanup guy, and the cleanup guy hitting, getting 4,600 when he has home run upside is not something that you really should ignore. You can, I wouldn't, if that makes any sense. So, I build my lineup, and that's, basically my guide to how I would do Showdown. You've got, 8 minutes left to finalize it, but that's what I'm thinking. So let's, I'm going to get a sip of this. This is the same one that I had yesterday. So I drank water yesterday after the video. But man, the bubbles help my throat when I'm talking too much. And my throat already hurts. Excuse me. So let's move on to the afternoon slate, which is a very, very tiny little 2-gamer. So the one thing I want to see is as late as it is, and this is very surprising, we only had 2 of the lineups out. And yeah, the Twins lineup is out already, and they start at 7:10, but the Dodgers lineup isn't out. So I don't know who they're waiting for. But as of right now, we have 3 of the 4. Oh, the pot. We have 2 of the 4. These games are going off at 3:40. That is nuts. Normally lineups are out about 4 hours before game time. I know it's early, and I know they're West Coast in it, but that is still, it is 1 p.m. and those games are going off in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Hey, Ethan, how you doing today? So yeah, what's going to happen is, excuse me, I'm going to start talking about these games. I'm going to go over what we know and what's confirmed. And then as the lineups come out, which it will guaranteed happen, weather is going to be an issue today, DJ Dog, but I don't think, yeah. Ooh, Max Free. What about everybody? Snell giving up the grand slam and 5 runs. Every chalk pitcher yesterday went belly up. You had to play someone off the radar. It was kind of nuts. And DJ, I'm going to talk about weather when I get to the main slate. I think that it's going to be a bit overblown. So I think that people are going to wind up sitting out or not playing plays, and this is a place to take advantage of that. But I'll get to that eventually. Excuse me, like I said, itchy throat today, which means I'm probably getting sick because I do have a son. Yeah, Castillo. I said, I had to fade the chalk yesterday. Castillo and Paddock were 2 of my favorite plays. And everybody else that I liked, even Paddock didn't do that well. Paddock did pretty poorly yesterday. Castillo was really one of the only dudes that I liked yesterday that went off, and he had almost no ownership. Because, everybody was focused on Snell and on Straz, and that's just, what happens sometimes. Shit goes crazy in baseball. The Marlins score 16 runs in a game. It happens. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen more than one time every few years. If, all things being equal, if the Marlins play this lineup, every day, or yesterday's lineup every day, they're not going to score 16 runs more than like once every couple of seasons. So we saw a huge aberration yesterday. So, we see it all the time. It's baseball. That's the beauty of it. We can go in with as much information as we can and make the best decisions we can, and that's what I'm here to help y'all do, right? So let's move on to the quick little two gamer, because like I said, I really have I have to do this as quick as I can because of the pain. And first game, Dodgers Diamondbacks. We official lineup for the Dodgers right now. We do have an official lineup for the Diamondbacks. So let's talk about that. And then Meta, because we know who's starting for the Dodgers, even if we don't have an official lineup. So we have Dyson, Escobar, Marte, Peralta, Walker, Avila, Ahmed, and LeCastro going for the Diamondbacks. Of those, Christian Walker is barely on the hot side of hot, according to the stats over the last week. Not to say he's not hot, just to say that he's not, like a 600 ISO with a 1.600 WOBA. He's right there at the border, but he's still hot. Not to take anything away from him. But we have Dyson, Peralta, Avila, and Ahmed, all of whom are cold over the last week. This is not a get-right spot. Meta is not someone who's going to make it easy on people. And losing Adam Jones today isn't going to help their lineup prospects as a whole. Carly, who's by far their best hitting catcher, getting downgraded for an Alex Avila with a 0 ISO and a 174 WOBA is not good for the Diamondbacks. Ahmed, excuse me, with his 469 OPS and 204 WOBA over the last week isn't going to help. Peralta is one of the better hitters in that division, and I don't have any problem saying that, but he has not found his swing yet. And until he gets that back, we're going to see. Oh, damn it, my wife is calling. I cannot take my phone call while I'm doing video. Jared Dyson, a 321 OPS with a 152 WOBA over the last week. LeCastro, 606 OPS with a 278 WOBA. Not fantastic. Not the worst. He's not like super cold, but at 095 ISO, like all of these dudes are not doing that well. Even Marte and Escobar, are OPS right around 800. And I would like to see hitters of that caliber stick it around the 900 consistently. So even they would be, cold considering how they were doing. And seeing as how both of them were hot, just a few days ago, if you remember looking at the lineups page, that means that they have turned cold recently. And if they keep it up, in a couple of days, they're going to be in the pink as well. So this is a team that has not been hitting well, and this is a lineup that is worse than it could have been if Adam Jones was healthy and if they played Carson Kelly, but they are not. So I think that Maeda is going to be one of the best pitchers on this little 2-game slate. Granted, it's not like we have a huge amount of options. There's only 4 guys really to choose from, but I think that Maeda, even as the most expensive, should be more expensive given how poorly the Diamondbacks have been doing recently. So on the other side, I can still talk about John Duplantier. John Duplantier, or Duplanter, I don't really even know how you pronounce that. I'm going to assume Duplantier because I like saying that better. He had one start, and he did okay, but not great. He struck out 7.2 per 9, which is okay. Walked 3.6, whip of 1.6 in that start. The 5.4 ERA is somewhat bolstered by a 2.75 FIP, but the xFIP is right back up to 4.67, and the Sierra is at 5. He didn't pitch that well. There are some things to indicate that he had some promise there, but I don't think it needs to be said at this point that the Dodgers are incredible. They are absolutely out of this world offensively. One of the best in baseball. I've been saying best in the National League, but honestly, just looking at all of the numbers for them as a team, they are one of the best in baseball. I have no problem saying that. So this is not a good spot for the rookie making a second major league start after having relative success, but not really against a much weaker if I remember correctly, Mets team in his first start. Was it Mets? Yes, it was. A Mets team in his first start. He got 5 innings, still gave up 3 earned runs, only got 77 pitches. So he is not someone that I would count on if you are trying to find a pitcher today. I think that is going to wind up hurting you more often than it doesn't. I don't remember what it's an EV and minus EV, plus and minus EV. If you play the scenario out 100 times, is it good for you or bad for you? And I think that's a good way of thinking about these decisions a lot of times. If you play the Dodgers Diamondbacks game 100 times with the Dodgers playing the Dodgers lineup 100 times, is Duplantier going to help you or hurt you more often than not? And I think that anyone who knows anything is going to tell you that he's going to hurt you more often than not. Now, that doesn't mean that this can't be the 1% of games. Like I said, the Marlins score 16 runs every once in a while. It's going to happen. But I think that the sensible way of looking at it is, does he really have a chance of paying off given everything? And I would say that, all things considered, as a plus or minus EV move, he does not. He did not look that good against a much worse Mets offense. And this is a Dodgers offense that doesn't strike out, walks all the time, and hits the shit out of the ball. They are, if you're watching this, you probably know that already. So I'm belaboring the point. So again, we still do not have an official Dodgers lineup, but I'm confident that that Dodgers lineup is going to be, we got the Phillies lineup in at least. That's good. That Dodgers lineup, is going to have Peterson and Muncy and Turner and Bellinger and Seager. And that's all those are the I want the most anyway. If any of those guys miss, Verdugo is fine. It's just a plethora of options that we have here. So I really do like the Dodgers offense, and I would be focusing on them. Next, we have the second game is the Phillies and the Padres. This is where, this is where it's going to get a little more GPP because I think that if you look at it from a wider lens, you would think that Arrieta is in a better spot and Quantrill is the person that you're going to want to stack against. But I truly, truly believe it to be the other way. If you dig into the recent stats, Cal Quantrill, well, granted, hasn't had a lot of innings. He still did have 2 starts. And in those 2 starts, he got 11 innings and 11 strikeout. More than that. Yeah, his, Let's just go over the rate stats. So I'm not just trying to add things up. Quantrill over the last couple of weeks, 13.5 strikeouts per 9, with 3 walks per 9, which isn't great. 3 home runs per 9, which isn't great. But a 0.67 whip, which is fantastic. And then this is where it gets interesting, right? The 4.5 ERA up to the 5.48 FIP 0.73. Now, he's only 6,000, right? In his last start against Toronto, he went 6 innings, struck out 9, and got 27 DKP. This is a Phillies team that has not... Oh, I think that was my son. Calling me because I got a text message that is mostly just consonants. He must have gotten hold of my wife's phone. Oh, that's fun. That kid, he's going to turn 4 in a week or so, and I can't wait. So again, to go back to it, Quantrill has looked better and has more upside for his price. If you look at the Phillies, with McCutchen out, it is again a much worse offense, much worse. I know they got Bruce, and Bruce is hot right now. But Bruce, if you've ever had him on your team, he is as streaky hitter as it gets. He will be hot for a week. He will carry your team for a week, and then he will go MIA for a month and a half. So he might be riding that hot streak right now, but overall, I don't think that this is a Phillies team that is going to be doing better off, in the long run with McCutchen out. I think it's going to be a huge, huge downgrade to them as a whole. And I think that, it's worth taking the risk on Quantrill, knowing that Hernandez and Segura, the one in the 3-hitter, Well, let's see. You know what? I didn't update the lineup. Let's make sure. Okay, Hernandez, Harper, Segura, Hoskins, Real Muto, Bruce, Kingery, and Hazley. Exactly as I predicted it. That is how you do that, folks. So yeah, Hernandez and Segura are cold right now. They're 1-3. That's a boost to Quantrill. Hernandez has really not been able to hit lately. I know Harper's hot. I know Bruce is hot, but Hoskins is getting cold. Real Muto was heating up. So we have to watch out for him. And then Kingery and Hazley at the bottom of the order, I'm really not that worried about at all. So again, if he was 8,000, if he was priced the same, if all these pitchers were similar, it would be a different story. But Quantrill at 6,000, I would really like to pair him with Maeda. I think if you do pair him with Maeda, you'll be able to get those bats that you want. And like I said, the Dodgers are going to probably be running away the highest owned scoring team on this slate most of the time, if you play it 100 times. But I really do think it's a really sneaky to take the Padres. The Padres still have a 4.5 run total today, and Arrieta has looked really bad. 7.6 strikeouts per 9, 1.4 walks per 9, which isn't terrible, but 2.8 home runs per 9 for Arrieta is really, really bad. 1.31 whip, 4.85 ERA that goes up to a 5.92 FIP. This is a Padres team that was cold, and their hitters have been heating up as a whole lately. So they are a lot more dangerous than they were just a few days ago. When a whole team starts getting hot and starts hitting, what happens. What happened to Nola a couple days ago can easily happen to a pitcher that's been doing really, really poorly. So I really do think that the way I'm going to attack this 2-game slate is Maeda and Quantrill, and then try to load up on as many of the Padres and Dodgers, primarily Dodgers bats as I can. If I take a one-off, I wouldn't mind taking Harper or Bruce. Both of them are underpriced. And as I've said, when you get to 2-game slates, it's not bad to take one batter, against a pitcher that you're playing. It helps to separate you from the field, because a lot of people have rules that they never ever do that. And there are plenty of ways where, Jay Bruce has a really, really good day and Cal Quantrill still gets you 4 times value. There's plenty of ways that can happen. So, on a smaller slate like this, I think it is sometimes worth taking on that additional risk, that negative correlation, because, it can pay off for you. Not as often as you would like, but on a 2-game slate with a GPP, you got to take some chances, because, the lineup construction is going to be significantly hampered and very close to a lot of other people's. So let's take a look at the Padres lineup that they have put out today. It's Garcia, Reyes, Machado, Hosmer. Renfroe gets the day off. That is a boost to Arrieta. Naylor is in his place. Myers, Kinsler gets the day off for Ty France. That is a boost to Arrieta and a downgrade to the Padres. And Austin Allen gets the start for Austin Hedges. That is, given how bad Austin Hedges has been hitting, I would say that's a wash to a slight upgrade. But either way, that is not as good for this Padres lineup. I am going to take a quick second here and fill in this stuff on the lineups page, because then I can transfer it here and see if any of these guys are hot and cold lately. France has been really cold lately. So over his last week, 286 OPS, 0 ISO, 125 WOBA. So going down from Kinsler to France is a huge downgrade. Huge downgrade. That is that is not good at all. Excuse me. And then let's see what else we got here. We got Austin Allen, who's been, he only had 5 plate appearances, but a 1,000 OPS with a 200 ISO, 420 WOBA. That's not bad, knowing that Austin Hedges had a 175 WOBA. So that's not bad. And then Josh Naylor, 1,000 OPS, 364 batting average, 273 ISO with a 417 WOBA, and he gets the splits advantage. So while Renfroe has been on fire, Naylor has not been doing that bad lately. So I think that is a sneaky bat that you can get in there. Only 3,500 batting fifth. He has the splits matchup that you want, and he has been hitting well lately. So again, even with a few of the better hitting stars taking a rest day today on the Padres, I still think that it would be worthwhile to go Padres and Dodgers as the bats, and then go with Maeda and Quantrill. I think that is going to be far and away the best way to put that together. So I'm going to take another sip of my drink here, and I think I have to do a medicine thing real quick because of the spasms. I do have to say, I am proud of myself that I hide the pain as well as I do. Because if you watch this, apart from me saying it, you don't really know it until I have like a visible, my face turns red or something. But even then, you really have to be looking out for it. So, okay, give me 1 second. Here's some duckies. And we're back. It's amazing how quickly that helps and how much it helps. Excuse me. Damn it. Sorry. I really oh, God, that hurts. When your throat hurts as it is, it just makes it so unpleasant. I apologize for the noise and for the delay. Thank you for all your patience, everybody. All right, let's get back to it. Let's go to the night slate today. I want to see, I know that there are some lineups that have come out. Nothing in the first couple games. We don't have to worry about anything. Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals are playing at 8:15, and their lineup came out. And we are still waiting for the Dodgers lineup to come out, and they're playing in 2.5 hours. Baseball sometimes. All right, let's get into the night slate. Game 1, Atlanta and Pittsburgh. This is one where, let's overview it. Because as DJ Dog pointed out, there are some weather concerns tonight. This is not a night where we can absolutely avoid paying attention to the weather. Excuse me. But this is the thing about it, right? So if you look at all of the hourly forecasts, what's going to happen in Pittsburgh is the rain is going to be there around game time, but after a couple of hours, it's going to move out, right? So what we're going to probably wind up happening in that game is they will sit through the delay, and then after the rain moves out, keeps going east, they'll get the full game in. It'll start at like 9:30 or 10. Let's see what the hourly says now. It's going to turn into a lighter rain around 9. So around 9 o'clock, if they want to play through a lighter rain, they can start the game. They'll start after a delay. But if they don't outright postpone it, if they don't outright say we're not playing this game, at 4 or 5 o'clock, then we really shouldn't have to worry about them being able to get this game in, right? We have, the Blue Jays we don't have to worry about because they're in a dome. We have the Cleveland game. The Cleveland game is much of the same, because Cleveland is, Pittsburgh is here. Cleveland is like right there. Or maybe it's up here. I think Cleveland's up here. Cincinnati's the one that's down there, I think. Maybe Cincinnati's the one here and Cleveland's here. I always get those ones confused. Damn it, Ohio. But it's the same deal, right? They're going to have the thunderstorms there slightly before game time, with some storms lingering around and some heavier rain. But that'll move out by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then they'll be able to play an entire game. So again, if they don't outright cancel that game, we shouldn't really have too much of a problem. And then we could take a look. If you go further east, we have like the Giants and the Mets, but it's not going to get to the Mets until late in the game if it gets to the Mets. So, we have, let's look at all the games on the East Coast, right? We have the Nationals, that's 105, we don't have to worry. Pirates, I talked about. Indians, I talked about. The Mets, I would say that, excuse me, while there's a chance, if you look at the hourly forecast, there's some light rain that's going to move into the area, but the storms that are going to delay the games, like in Pittsburgh, or would delay the games in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, aren't going to be moving in until 9:30, 10 p.m. if everything, moves at the same speed that they're predicting, which right now I do have faith in. So what will happen is, again, the Mets will have to delay this game when the storms move in. So it's possible that they outright cancel it. But I think it's much, much more likely that they play, 6, 7, 8 innings of this game before it gets delayed or called or not postponed, or whatever the hell they're doing nowadays, suspended for tomorrow, whenever the next time they play is, whatever it is. I would expect them to play most of this game, and I expect that taking people from this game isn't going to really matter as much as you would think. Detroit, it's not going to matter because it's too far west. The Cardinals is going to be the most tricky one, because the Cardinals is going to be a question of flare-ups, right? Like, the line of storms that's moving in could really, really hurt them, or it could just cause some heavy rains, or it could miss them and break up. The odds are that they're going to get a storm moving out. If you look at some predict the start game, and they would be able to get 6, 7 innings in, and then possibly need to suspend the game for a later time. But I think that is, I think that they'll be able to, again, either get most of the game in, or work through the delay. So I think that give everything, we are looking at overblown weather concerns for today. The timings seem to work out really, really well. If the thunderstorms were moving into Pittsburgh at game time instead of moving out of Pittsburgh at game time, or if they were moving into New York at game time instead of, at the end of the game, if, we knew that the line of storms was going to park over St. Louis, but as of right now, none of those are sure things. So what we know is there should be windows for every single one of these games to get almost all, if not all, of themselves in. So to answer your question from before, DJ Dog, I don't think that the weather is going to be as much of a concern as people are making it out to be. And I think that is a way to get advantage, because that all of these games that have weather concerns, pitchers and batters included, their ownerships are going to be far lower than what they should be in most cases. So if you understand that, the risk for the weather this time is overblown, not that there's no risk, but that the risk isn't like, oh God, we need to not play anybody, that the knee-jerk reaction is going to be to not play people, right? So if, you have someone who looks really, really good, like Francisco Lindor, right? Like, I want to play Francisco Lindor today, no matter what. Am I going to not play him because the rain's going to be in Cleveland until like 9 p.m. and then it's going to be fine to play baseball? Of course not. But there's going to be a lot of people who see like the red and the rain and the everything else and go, oh, no, I'm not even going to take the risk. So at that point, you do have people in good spots that have less ownership than you should. So I really do like weather days like this, when I don't think that there's as much uncertainty, but there's an air of uncertainty where people may or may not play people, especially when, it's Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which are two of the earliest games that go off. So you're going to have to make your decision to play or not play right off the bat. It's not something you can wait and decide and wait and see about. So I really like those games because those ownerships are always significantly under. I talked about it last week when the Brewers were in Philadelphia, I said that I really love the Brewers. They're going to go unowned because people are worried about the weather, and you're going to be able to stack them up. They're going to get a bunch of runs, and no one's going to have ownership on them. And if you look at it, they got like 11 runs that game, and there was almost no ownership on them because the game started after an hour and a half or 2-hour delay. And you could find that a lot today. I think that that's going to be a good tack as a whole to get over the field. So that being said, let's move on because, again, I need to get this done. Game 1. Oh, boy. That means I have 12 games to talk about. Braves, 12 games to talk about, and I'm 40 minutes in. Braves at Pirates. We have Kevin Gossman going against Joe Musgrove. Both of these pitchers have looked really badly lately. There are other offenses that I'm going to want to target more, but these are two offenses that I would put in the I am not pitching these guys and I'm stacking against them pools. I really love Swanson. I really love Freeman. They have both been in really, really good form lately. I really like Melky Cabrera. He has been in very good form lately. Starling Marte looks to be heating up. I will say that Markakis, McCann, and Polanco have been doing very badly. Polanco for an extended period of time. So I will be avoiding him if you're going to play those, either of those stacks. But I think that, again, you can get them at lower ownership than they should be, especially because of the rain and the uncertainty that people are going to have there. So I think that Swanson, Freeman, Marte, Cabrera, even Colin Moran are fine as, stacks, mini stacks, as one-offs, whatever you want to do with them. I think that they are all feasible. Josh Bell, of course. I mean, there's a lot of plays here against two pitchers that have been doing terribly that are going to be unowned because of the weather. So that was easy. Moving on. The Yankees and the Blue Jays. We have Paxton going against Thornton. Excuse me. This is one where, Paxton did he have one start or two starts now? I think it's two. It is one. He had the one start, 4 innings pitched, 66 pitches. So, right. So at 11,300 on DraftKings or 10,000 on FanDuel, as much as I like him, especially against Toronto, as much as I expect him to get you 20 DKP today, he does not have the upside other pitchers do. I will not pay 10,000 plus or 11,000 plus for a pitcher that's going to be only be able to throw 85 or 90 pitches. And I think that his ownership is going to be far too high, considering the fact that he does have a shorter leash than you would like. On the other side, Thornton has been pitching decently. Not fantastically, but decently over the last couple of weeks. He showed that strikeout upside, 12.7 strikeouts per 9, but his problem, as always, is the control. 5.1 walks per 9, which amounts to a 1.59 whip. And his advanced stats, all of those, the ERA, FIP, are all around 4.5. If you look at them together. So we have someone who has been pitching decently with decent strikeout upside, going against a team that has been in good form and hasn't been striking out that much. So I am going to avoid Thornton. I think that the Yankees are a good stack today. I just think that they're going to be a little more popular than they deserve, especially given the upside that Thornton has and the position that some other teams are in. But again, I do really like LeMahieu, Voit, and Sanchez. Not that that's news, but they are 3 fantastic hitters who have been in absolutely fantastic form lately. So I would prioritize taking them. I would also note that Clint Frazier, who's been a little hot and cold lately, has been heating up, as you saw yesterday. So if you want to consider him as part of like a 4-man stack with the Yankees, I would definitely add him on. And then, as much as I don't like him, you're playing Voit, you can't get to him on DraftKings. On FanDuel, 2,500 for Kendrys Morales. You could get that fourth in there pretty easily at really cheap. But I'd still rather take Urshela at 2,800. But yeah, that's splitting hairs. All right, so that's that game. That's going quicker. All right, next game is the Twins and the Indians. I really like the Indians today. Last time Martin Perez pitched, I told you guys to stack against him. I said that his beginning of the year was a fluke, and everything is pointing to him regressing to the norm, and that is exactly what he is doing. He got shelled last time. I hope you listened to me, and he's going to get shelled today. Over the last couple weeks, 7.04 strikeouts per nine, 7.04 walks per nine. That's really, really bad. 2.35 whip. That is the worst of anybody on the entire slate. Excuse me, not just on the slate, in the entire day of baseball, including the 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock games. You have a 9.39 ERA, which granted, he hasn't been pitching that bad. Some of that is a little bit bad luck, but it's not like he's been doing great. 5.63 FIP, 5.19 XFIP, and a 5.67 Sierra. So all those advanced stats show that Perez is falling down to earth and doing it quite precipitously. So 8,900 for him on FanDuel is an absolute joke. And I wouldn't even pay the 7,400 for him on DK. The one thing I am excited about, and I said this before, and I did talk about this yesterday, Frankie Lindor is a switch hitter that hits much, much better as a right-handed bat. So I love to target him when he is going against a lefty. I told you yesterday, as much as I liked Smeltzer, I would still want to take Lindor as a one-off because of how well he does against lefties. And he hit 2 home runs. I hope you listen to me. I know there's only 8 of you watching this right now, and probably only 100 and something that'll watch it in total. But Frankie Lindor, when he's hot and going against a lefty, needs to be in your lineups. I don't know if it's going to be, a one-off. I don't know if you're going to play some other Indians bats against a Perez that's going to be overvalued, and therefore the Indians bats are going to be undervalued. On top of that, the Indians bats are going to be under-owned because of the weather uncertainty in Cleveland. I just think that this is up to be a fantastic spot to take Lindor, to take Santana, and to take Luplow, assuming that they are the 1, 3, and 4 here. Mercado and Kipnis have been cold as anything. Greg Allen's been doing well. Perez is a fine enough catching option at 3,200, not going to break your bank. There are enough Indians bats going against a pitcher that's falling back down to earth for good reason, that the Indians are going to be one of my favorite stacks today. Frankie Lindor might be my home run call for the day. When all is said and done, I really cannot express enough how much I do like the Indians bats, especially again, considering how low owned they're going to be due to the weather concerns. Oh, what a place to eat up today. You can get a team that's going to score 10 runs at almost no ownership because people are going to be scared about if the game's going to play. And like I said before, this game goes off at 7:10, which means you're going to have these guys locked in right at the beginning. You're not going to be able to have a wait and see approach, and you can't say like, oh, this game doesn't look at 8 o'clock. Oh, this game doesn't look like it's going to happen. Let me get these guys out of there. You're in or you're out. And a lot of people are not going to want to have that risk. Me, on the other hand, sign me up twice. Thank you very much. On the other side, Carrasco is a fantastic pitcher who has not been pitching well lately. A 9.2 strikeouts per 9 is good, but Carrasco should be in the double digits there, in all fairness. 2.8 home runs allowed per 9 going against the Twins. He throws a fastball the most, and the Twins are the best in the American League, if not in baseball, at hitting fastballs. 1.66 whip. 7.82 ERA with a 5.68 FIP. He's someone that is rightfully priced down. We saw him over 10,000 a lot of the season, and given his upside, given how good he is as a pitcher, skill-wise, that makes sense. But given his recent form, given how poor he's been pitching lately, and given the matchup, this is not someone that I'm going to be looking at today. I will say this. I am probably only going to wind up playing one lineup today just because of how I want to focus everything. And I will not be considering Carrasco there. But 9,000 for a for someone of Carrasco's upside is someone that I would want to take. If you're doing 150 lineups, and I talk about this, I would have some exposure to Carrasco. I wouldn't be over the field. I'd try to be under the field, if not equal the field, depending on what his ownership projects to be. But I would definitely have some exposure to Carrasco just because of the ceiling there. The ceiling for Carrasco doesn't change just because he's been in bad form. So let's move on. Next game is the Giants and the Mets. Like I said, I think that this game, they play it and then they have to delay it at the end of the game if it takes a long time. And given the fact that these are the two, that it's Bede and Vargas, I would expect this game to take a long time to play. I kind of just, I don't know if I want to say I want to avoid this game completely, but I'm not stacking and I'm not taking the pitchers, right? I love some of the one-offs and maybe some mini stacks if you want. Tyler Bede is a high strikeout pitcher, but cannot find the plate. And he has been trying to establish control at the expense of his strikeout stuff, and it really has not been working that well for him. He climbs the stairs if you look at all the advanced stats, as I often talk about. So I'm still not playing him, even at the 6,400. Is that the Dodgers lineup? Nope, still no Dodgers lineup. 2 hours to game time, still no Dodgers lineup. That isn't, okay, whatever. I shouldn't get upset about it because I can't change it. That's just the way it works. Maybe someone's injured and they're waiting. Maybe someone woke up sick and they're waiting to see if they can play today. But anyway, Tyler Bede, not a good pitcher. Gives up some home runs, although not in the last couple weeks. Does not have fantastic control. Pete Alonso, Wilson Ramos, and Todd Frazier have been hitting really, really well lately. McNeil is a fantastic hitter. I absolutely have no problem whatsoever in taking like Alonso as a one-off again. Just like yesterday, he can hit you a home run. I don't know about Carrasco, man. I don't know about, I don't know about him if you're a pitcher. There's a lot of options today that we can talk about. Again, there's a couple Mets bats I like, but I'm not stacking up on the Mets. They strike out too much, and a lot of them have been in way bad shape. Conforto, Rosario, Gomez have been really cold. McNeil's trying to get his bat back from the IL. Cano's going to be back tonight, I would assume, and he's going to have to find his bat back from the IL. So don't love Bede, don't love the Mets stack. On the other side, Vargas is a bad pitcher who's been pitching mediocre over his last couple of weeks. Not great, not terrible, better than he should. Not striking people out, walking a lot of people, so we can't really pitch him. But he's also someone that I don't want to stack against, especially with a Giants team that is so bad. What I do like, again, much like with the Mets, I do like some one-offs. Specifically, and I mentioned this yesterday, when you have Belt and Posey both hot over the last week, that is something that should fill a pitcher's heart with concern, because those two are the best hitters on this team, far and away, not even close. And if both of them are hot, they can carry this team. So I wouldn't mind taking like a two-man Belt and Posey, especially Belt with the lefty on lefty. People aren't going to target him. But I do think that Posey is underpriced given his recent form. I know he's not hitting a lot of home runs anymore, but given his recent form, given how well he's been doing, and given the matchup, there's some one-offs to take from this game, even if you're not taking the full game itself. Moving on, next game is the Tampa Bay Rays and the Detroit Tigers. This one has my favorite pitcher of the day. DJ Dog mentioned him before, Charlie Morton, who I absolutely love. The question is, do you want to pay $11,600 for him on DraftKings? That's something that you're going to need to figure out, and that's going to be a question on you. For me, I am going to do my best to try to do that. I'm going to see what cheaper pitchers I can fit in, if there's any cheaper stacks, because I really do like Charlie Morton. The Tigers are a bad offense, even though they hit Snell so well yesterday. That is more a function of him being a lefty, and Morton is going to be able to eat these dudes up. So what I will say, and you know what, I want to check this too, because this really was significantly important yesterday. when I was talking about it, because the owner, it does matter the ownership. If you have the the two pitchers that are really, really owned and nobody else is, then maybe it's bad to play Charlie Morton today. It does not look like they have ownership projections out right now. They do not. So I do not know. I do not know. So I cannot tell you. I would agree. Morton is the safest pick today, but he is also incredibly expensive, and he's probably going to be incredibly popular. I want to see what sales ownership is, but he might be even chalkier, especially given the discount. But I love Morton today. I have nothing against playing Morton today. The only reason I wouldn't play him is as an ownership concern or because I can't afford him. But Morton is an amazing pitcher with stuff that's going to give, a Dodgers lineup that is, a Tigers lineup that is almost all righties. He's going to give them absolute fits. So yeah, Morton, best play today, pitching wise, if you can afford it. I don't think it's even close, honestly. You think Morton's going to be unowned, Bazam? Then yeah, load up on Morton, please. If Morton is going to be unowned, then there is nothing to stop you from hammering the hell out of him, because he has the highest upside today and probably the best matchup. The Tigers are the worst offense in the American League. They are severely bad against righties, and it's really just not even close. So just forget about it. Let's see. So yeah, that being said, let's look at Turnbull. Turnbull has been okay. He's someone with a decent strikeout upside, but hasn't really shown it lately. And he has been pitching mediocre, not great, not bad. He's going against a Rays team that can really hurt you. So this is one of those situations where I'm going to kind of call it a wash and kind of avoid it. I don't really like Turnbull. If he were a lot cheaper, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on the upside, but 9,000 or so for him on DraftKings is just far too much. There are plenty of other pitchers around the same price that would have a higher upside than him and a much better matchup than the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to score 5.3 runs today. 5.3 runs today, according to Vegas. Turnbull is just not the play. While I like Meadows, I like Pham, I like Garcia, these are really, really expensive guys, and I don't like the full stack of people around them to take a chance there. I'd rather, take those three on a mini stack maybe, but I'm certainly not going to build a lineup around the Rays today. Next up, we have, did I just forget to do the Brewers? There was nobody hot and cold. Maybe I forgot to do the Brewers. Next up, we have the Marlins and the Milwaukee. Oh, I just didn't get to them. We have the Marlins and the Milwaukee Brewers. So we have Sandy Alcantara against Jimmy Nelson. Jimmy Nelson is making his first start in the major leagues in 21 months. He is someone that changed everything about how he pitched. Became an absolute ace, found his control, found everything, and then he got injured, and now he hasn't pitched in 2 years. So I want to see if they have announced, because they did not, as what I saw last night. I still don't see anything about like a pitch limit. Yeah, he threw 4.2 innings in his last rehab start. So, and that's with giving up 4 runs in the 5th inning. Getting 84, he's getting up to over 100 pitches. So I would think that Jimmy Nelson is going to be stretched out enough with the upside against a Marlins team. Nelson is a very good pitcher, and people are not going to take the risk on him, and they really, really should. The Marlins, I don't care about that 16 runs. They're still the free square. They're going to be the free square. They are still the worst offense I've ever seen in my life as a whole. It's not close. That's the end of the story. So give me Jimmy Nelson today. Jimmy Nelson is someone who a couple of years ago, if you were playing DFS, was one of those over 10,000 every game he pitched and was paying it off every time he pitched. So yeah, he's underpriced for someone who's been stretched out, who has a matchup against the Marlins, and who has the stuff that he does. I understand the don't take someone coming off the IL. This is a GPP play, but personally, I really do like him. On the other side, we have Alcantara. Alcantara is going against a Brewers team that has been very hot lately. If you look at projected lineup, you have Thames and Yelich and Moustakas and Grandal, all of which have been hot over the last week. That is 4 of the top 6 batters. And the Dodgers lineup finally comes out. It's a final here, folks. We get the Dodgers lineup at 2 hours to go. So Braun has been cold, so we would avoid him. But everybody else is either hot or close to hot on the Brewers. Alcantara is one of the worst pitchers right now. Granted, he's a kid with good stuff. He might evolve into a middle tier starter one of these days, but on any other team, he would still be putting the work in AAA as he should be. Not thrust into the big leagues against a Brewers team that is going to be able to murder him. So the Brewers are one of the best stacks today. Again, Yelich, Moustakas, Grandal, and Thames are my favorite. Yelich at 6,000 on DraftKings. Oh, man. That's amazing, though, isn't it? That's just amazing. But it's still worth it. Alcantara is that bad. The Brewers are that good. And Yelich is, and then a whole bunch of letters. That's so damn. I love that damn kid. All right, so that's that game. Let's move on because I still do have a lot of games left. Baltimore, Texas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Oh boy. So we have the O's and the Rangers. This is one where I might take a sneaky John Means. John Means has changed his pitch selection this year. He's changed the way he pitches this year, and he has been met with pretty decent success, both in terms of the real stats and in terms of the advanced stats. His 23.7 DKP against Detroit is not as much of an aberration. He has a 19.3, a 24, a 22.3, a 15.9, a 12. The 12 obviously is not in the same league, but John Means has been pitching well. And as I've talked about many times, this is a Rangers team that does not hit lefties. So you have the chance to get someone at 5,800 who could get you 25 points, who's actually been in good form lately. If you look at what I do here, the K per 9 is 9, 0.8 home runs per 9, 1.09 whip. His 3.27 ERA is actually bolstered by a 2.88 FIP. Like everything for John Means has shown that he has been a good pitcher the last couple weeks. The control, the strikeout upside, limiting home runs, limiting hits, everything. And now he has an advantage as a strikeout lefty against a Rangers team that strikes out all the time and doesn't really hit lefties really well. Mathis and DeShields at the bottom of the lineup don't scare me. Odor is cold as anything and has been cold as anything. Chu only really hits lefties. Chu really only hits against righties. Mazara really only hits against righties. There's just not enough there for the Rangers against a lefty that I won't take a chance on Means today at 5,800. If he was 8,000, no thanks, but he is the second cheapest pitcher today, and there is no way if you play this slate out 100 times, he's going to get you the second lowest score for all of these pitchers. No possible way. Far too many other terrible options. He is someone that, again, he's not someone that we're going to lock in as a Cy Young Award candidate, but he is someone that should be closer to 8,000. He should be somewhere where we have to think about whether or not we should play him instead of going 5,800 for someone in that form who's been getting those DKP as a lefty against the Rangers. Thank you very much. It's one of those things where it's a risk, but for what I see, it's a calculated risk, and that'll help you get the Charlie Morton and some of those expensive bats, and he's not going to be owned. On the other side, we have Mike Minor, who has been pitching fantastically this season. A really good strikeout upside. I know the Orioles are an underrated offense. You saw what they're capable of yesterday, but Mike Minor has been pitching well enough that I ban stuff yet? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, Kent Thompson? Kent Thompson asked, did we go over band stuff yet? Oh, NBA. No, I didn't yet. I don't know how much. That's okay. It's funny. Like did I ban someone and I had to talk about it? So yeah, Minor I like a lot today. I'm not going to pay 10,800 for him on DraftKings when I could just go up to Morton or go down to Sale. But I would love him at 9,600 on FanDuel, especially if you're building a lot of lineups. As a lefty, you really have to like Alberto. He mashes lefties. Severino is a righty that great form as a catcher. 3,500. He has not been priced up sufficiently. So, there are some one-offs there as well, which decreases how much I like Minor, especially for the 10,800. But still, it's not someone that I'm going to be stacking against. I have no problem taking a couple Orioles bats. But for this game, I'm focusing more on John Means, with exposure to Minor if I played multiple lineups, but that's basically it, apart from the one-offs. I really do like Severino. I really do like Alberto, assuming that Hanser Alberto leads off. Next up, Colorado, Chicago. The wind is blowing in at 12 miles an hour, which is a huge boost to starting pitching. Herman Marquez is going to be unowned today, 10,300, and he's been pitching like it. He is one of the favorites for the Cy Young Award in the NL. If you look at the Vegas odds that came out, and that's not a joke. I don't think that against a Cubs team for 10,300, again, I'd still rather just spend up for Morton or take a chance on Sale, at a similar price. But a lot of other people are going to do that, and Marquez certainly has the upside to pay it off, especially outside of Coors Field. I know this is a Cubs team that's been hitting well lately, but I don't understand what that means, Amber. Okay, I guess that's a joke. People are weird. People are weird, especially on YouTube. So we have Marquez, who's been pitching like a Cy Young this year. He's going to be low ownership because of the Cubs, but he really is going to be helped by that wind. It's going to be a significant, as I said before, the wind in Wrigley has a significant effect on that game. If it's blowing out, you can expect more offense. If it's blowing in, you can expect better pitching. And I would expect Marquez to get that boost today at low ownership, especially given the price. I think a lot of other players are going to be taken around him, and he's going to be ignored. And you could get him in GPP at almost no ownership for someone with good upside who has been pitching like a Cy Young winner. On the other side of the game is Yu Darvish, who still can't find his control. He's still walking people. He's giving up a ton of home runs, which granted is going to be better today because of the wind, but he's not someone that I'm going to be targeting. Either 7,100, I can understand if you want to take the chance in GPP, but that is just too much risk for me. This is a Rockies team that, while not fantastic outside of Coors Field, is good enough and will take enough walks against Darvish that I just don't trust him, and I don't know how you can trust him either. He is nothing but a GPP play, given the fact that he can get like 15 strikeouts per 9 innings. But he's in that tier of someone you could play as a GPP play every time he pitches, but just know that that is an incredible risk because he has looked awful this year. So I would not mind taking, a Rockies stack as much as the wind condition isn't favorable to them hitting home runs. Murphy is still a line drive hitter. Dahl is a line drive hitter. Story and Arenado, while hit for power, are predominantly line drive hitters. They're not taking those huge uppercut swings like you see a Cody Bellinger take. If McMahon plays, he's been hitting well this season. We have a bunch of guys here that you can take a chance on, albeit I like other stacks better. Next up, you have Chris Sale going against Jakob Younis, the Red Sox in Kansas City against the Royals. I really like Chris Sale here. I would expect him to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate today. I wish that the ownership had come out. Maybe it came out while I was talking. But I would, still no. I would expect Sale to be the most popular pitcher today for good reason. He has been in very good form lately. He's been striking a ton of people out. It's been Sale looking like MVP, looking like Cy Young, Chris Sale. So the Kansas City Royals, while I talk about them constantly as I use Roto Grinders Bazam. So I don't know if you have like Osimo or something else that tells you, but I'm working on getting my own ownership for the Bathrobe Sports site, but that is a really arduous process, and I don't trust it. You know what I mean? Like it's too, I don't know, it's too up or down. Do I see a good tangible build with Sale and Morton? Yes. Yes, I do. I think that there are a few options to take, but I wouldn't go there. I'll get to that. Let me answer that question real quick. Let me go to my giant page lineups here, because this will help me to look at the pricing as a whole. So I want a stack that averages under 4,000, right? And I think that you can get that with the Indians. Okay. So it's going to be close. Oh, I know, DJ. You can get Lindor for 4,600, but then you have, Kipnis, who I don't love today, 2,900. Roberto Perez, 3,200. Jake Bowers, 3,100. Leonis Martin, if he's playing, 3,200. You could wrap around 6 through 1 or fit Santana in there and then take a couple of really cheap guys, and you should be able to get both of those guys in. Hey, Kenny, how you doing today? You should be able to fit like a decent Indian stack in, and then get someone like Travis Shaw, 2,800. Like there are plenty of, there'll be a catcher. I'm sure Jeff Mathis is playing today for 2,000, right? Jeff Mathis is probably 2,000. He's generally 2,000 when he plays. Where's the Rangers? There they are, 2,200. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of ways to fit both those pitchers in, get a full stack of a good team, and still, get the one-offs there that you're not going to be hurting, right? How you doing, Kenny? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming. Love Chris Sale today. Eunice is not a good pitcher, even though he's been in good form lately. I would much rather take the Red Sox against him. I don't think that that's a crazy thing, but just take note, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 for Eunice. He has not been terrible. 1.17 whip, 3.98 FIP, 3.26 xFIP. He is someone who isn't going to be fantastic, but may not be as bad as you think. So with with rain chance again in Kansas City, much like with St. Louis, I can understand not going here. Excuse me. But I really do love Sale a lot. It's a question of what ownership's going to be. Today, I appreciate you asking. Today is a terrible day. I'm having constant spasms in the hip, and it just keeps going down the leg, like feeling like there were bugs crawling on my leg last night. It's just not pleasant. But hey, I'm a fighter. I never give up. You keep going, right? You keep going no matter what. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you guys. Next up is the Cincinnati Reds at the St. Louis Cardinals. I talked again about the Cardinals with the weather chance. I think that DeSclafani has been the worst pitcher in baseball. On this slate or on today over the last couple of weeks. He's not striking anybody out. 1.82 whip, 8.94 FIP. Just everything points to him having done terribly. 3.86 home runs per 9, which is the most of anybody pitching today, not just on the slate. So this is a Cardinals team that I'm going to want to focus on. And I think, again, much like with the earlier games, you're going to be able to get the Cardinals at a much lower ownership because of the uncertainty. Hey, no problem, Kent, man. That's what I love it. It's a labor of love, right? And, I think the good thing is I'm someone who plays. I'm someone who knows, like I've done this long enough that I know what I want and what I need and what I'm looking for. Right. So it's easy to put things together because I just have to put together the stuff that I know is important and the stuff that you guys are going to want to see. That's why the lineups page is what the lineups page is. And that's why I'm going to add another thing about pitches to it as soon as I can figure out how. But everything's going to keep improving. It's just going to keep getting better and better. So that's, we'll get there. But let's finish this up because I do want to do a quick note on basketball, and I am I'm starting to get to the point where I can't sit up anymore. So DeSclafani, worst pitcher going today. Love the Cardinals. I love what they're going to be for their ownership. Let me give you the exacts here for who is hot and cold. Carpenter and Ozuna have been very hot lately, as has Waiters, and I want to focus on all of those. DeYoung has been cold for 2 weeks, so I'm going to avoid him. I do not expect him to come to today, although he very well could. But this is one where I'm going to focus on Carpenter, Ozuna, Waiters, and then if I want to fit in, a Goldschmidt or a Fowler, I will do so because again, DeSclafani profiles to be really bad here. And then on the other side, Dakota Hudson is also a really bad pitcher. So this is one where, again, I'm going to be focusing on taking some of these Reds bats. I know that Hudson has been doing decently over his last couple of weeks, but he's a ground ball pitcher that doesn't strike anybody out. And those can be prone to blow up if his control is just a little off. And this is not, the best Reds offense. The Reds offense, is not the best offense in baseball, but it's not, the worst either. Dietrich has been hitting well. Peraza has been hitting well. Votto's been heating up. Senzel is a fine leadoff hitter. They don't have a single person. Winker is cold, but that's the only player in the lineup that's cold recently. Everyone else has been doing well or hot. So, Dakota Hudson, you can't play because he doesn't strike anybody out. And I would consider the Reds as a GPP stack, although they're not one of the ones I'm focusing on. Much rather have the Cardinals bats if I'm picking any bats from this game. Second to last game, Oakland and LA. We have Danny Mengden versus Felix Pena. Mengden has looked pretty bad lately over the last couple of weeks. The upside's there, but this is one of those 10.8 strikeouts per 9. 8.7 walks per 9, 2.04 whip on the back of that. And you could see him climb those stairs. 2.16 ERA, 3.63 FIP, 5.94 xFIP. So he has not been pitching that well lately. I can understand, taking a chance on the 6,900 for him, given the fact that most of this Angels lineup is bad, but it's just not something I'm going to want to do. I would much rather just go further down to John Means and save that extra money and put that back into some bats. That what is it, 1,100, 1,300 is significant, and Means has a higher upside than Mengden and is a better pitcher than Mengden overall. And it's not hard to say that. I very, very firmly believe that Means is the only pitcher on the Orioles starting pitching staff right now that has the chance to be a decent pitcher at some point. He is by far the best one there. And he's by far the one that has the highest chance to succeed in the long term, given his stuff and the fact that he's a lefty and everything else. So yeah, no Mengden. I will be focusing on taking some of those Angels bats. La Stella and Trout have been very good lately. Calhoun has been very good lately. Fletcher has been very good lately. Ohtani looks to be heating up, which would be a huge boon. The one thing with Ohtani is that he really, really mashes righties that throw four-seam fastballs. Like, that's his deal. If you're a righty that throws a four-seam fastball most of the time, he is probably going to beat the hell out of you. And Mengden throws his four-seam fastball 35% of the time, double as much as he throws any other pitch. It's like his established pitch. So we can expect some success for Ohtani as well, just based on the pitch selection and what his strengths are and the splits and everything else. But that's what I'm here for. So yeah, I do like the Angels a lot today. Again, not my favorite stack. There are some that I've talked about that I do like more, but I do love the Angels today. I think La Stella, Trout, Ohtani, you can absolutely lock in there. I'm probably going to avoid Lucroy, given that he's been cold lately. But if I'm not playing a full 5, I have no problem playing a 3, because that's just the way it's going to line up, and Mengden has been pitching that badly. Last up is the Astros and the Mariners. For the Astros, we have Brad Peacock, who is one of the more underpriced pitchers today, 9,600 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel, going against the Mariners and Mike Leake, who has been the second worst pitcher pitching today over the last couple weeks, 3.9 strikeouts per 9, which is like, I could do that and I can't stand. 2.6 home runs per nine. And then, he's gotten very lucky with a 0.8 whip, but that's based on the BABIP against of 105, and I would not expect him to be that lucky. You can see, the 4.61 ERA goes way up to 6.74 for his FIP. So, Mike Leake is bad. The Astros are good. I don't think it really needs to be belabored, even without Springer, Altuve, Aledmys Diaz, Carlos Correa. These Astros have enough bats to hit, and they put it together well enough with Bregman, Brantley, and Chirinos that they should be able to take any mediocre pitcher without any problem whatsoever. And they are really holding down the fort until those guys get back. So love Bregman, love Brantley, love Chirinos. They are three of my favorite at those positions, and I absolutely want to play them today. I don't think I like them as good as I like some of the other stacks that are going to have low ownership because of the weather. Okay, that's for my wife asking me to wake them up at a certain time, so nothing that I need to worry about. So yes, love the Astros. Mike Leake is a bad pitcher. On the other side, we have Peacock, who should not be that cheap. He has good strikeout upside, which granted he hasn't been showing lately, but this is a Mariners team that, can strike out, especially if Encarnacion starts getting cold again, which I wouldn't bet on. But there's, Domingo Santana has been cold. Narvaez has been pretty cold. Beckham has been cold. Shedlong, oh boy. Okay. All right. So, oh geez. Okay. Yeah, I gotta have to deal with that. All right. So I apologize. Getting messages. So, like Peacock a lot today, I think he is underpriced for his upside against this Mariners team. He would be one of the better value pitchers today, and I'm going to avoid the Mariners bats. I really do like all sides of the Astros today. So that is where I'm going to end off for baseball there. I'm going to give a quick summary. Where's my stupid page here? There we go. When the Dodgers lineup came out, I did have to point that out. Peterson, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Seager, Taylor, Verdugo, Smith. So slightly different lineup than what I expected, with Smith in instead of Martin, and with Taylor in instead of Kike. But that's fine. That's, a side grade, if anything. It's still going to be the best bats to take against Arizona. All right. So let me fix that after. So on the night slate, my favorite pitcher is Morton. I really love Sale, and I really love John Means. I would like to have a lot of those dudes. I also think that Brad Peacock is a good play, and that Felix Pena coming in after the opener for the Angels is a very good play as well. I did forget to mention what I expected, so nothing to change there. And then my favorite stacks, I went over that before. The Indians are going to be number one with a bullet. I really love the Cardinals. I really like the Braves I really like taking one-offs from the Braves, and the Pirates are the mini stacks there. The Brewers look absolutely fantastic today. The Red Sox, if you want to pay up, and then the Astros, I also really, really like it. Thank you, DJ. I appreciate it. So that's that. I'm going to talk basketball like super duper quick. Have they given, someone in chat needs to tell me, have they given official word about Clay yet? I didn't get to check when I woke up, and that's the most important thing. I assume he's not playing. Game time decision still, yeah. So that's going to be where it's all about, right? So this whole deal is going to depend on the status of Klay Thompson tonight, right? If Klay Thompson doesn't play, then you have to play Curry and Green and Cousins. You have to. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use Cousins as the captain. I think his price just has not come up enough for the minutes and the production that he's going to get. The 7,200 price at util, 10.8, Cousins, you can get Cousins for $1,000 cheaper at captain than it costs for Kawhi at a util spot. Like, that is tremendously underpriced. So if you get Cousins and Curry and Green in there, you have 5,666 left over for 3 plays. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky, right? I think that I want to play these 3 guys regardless, because I think that Clay is going to be limited. Even if he does try to play, I don't think he's going to be offensively as good as he would need to be. So what I would like to look at is some of the cheaper guys that are going to get some extra run here, namely Quinn Cook, 3,200, I think is fantastic. I would really like to see, what they do with, like, I don't think Damian Lee hasn't played in forever. I don't know who else is going to back him up. So give me a second here, because I had all this down yesterday and then I lost all my shit. I don't know what happened to the document I was using. Livingston's going to back up. Damn it. Livingston's going to just straight back up Curry. So that's irrelevant, right? Jerebko's going to play big. McKinney might slide over for a little bit. But yeah, it's basically going to be, Evans? No, we're not going to let Evans play. No, we're not going to let Jacob Evans play. No, we'll probably just move up to there, or let McKinney play small forward. So yeah, basically what I'm going to assume happens is that, yeah, Looney's out also. I think that's why I'm putting Cousins in the top spot. I think that what's going to happen is what happened last game, right? Like, when Cousins didn't play, Jordan Bell got 0 minutes and Bogut only got 7. So it's not like, Looney missing that time meant that they went to Bell or Bogut. They basically just let Green play the 5 and they went small. And I would assume that for the most part, that's what you're going to see happen today. I think that's, the reality of how they're going to need to play if Clay is out. So I think that Cousins, Curry, and Dre should be absolutely locks for you. I would like to also fit in Kawhi, because obviously, you want to play Kawhi, but that only winds up giving you 2,600 per player. So, my dog's whining now too. And yeah, and it says, I see nothing indicating anything that these guys are going to get any sort of extra minutes. Damian Jones hasn't gotten any minutes at all. Jordan Bell didn't play last game. Yeah, I just assume that they're going to go small. Looney out is going to have a huge effect in terms of Toronto, because I think that it's going to give extra minutes to Ibaka. And I think that that's going to give less minutes to Gasol, although Gasol is going to need to be out for most of the time that Cousins is out. I think that Ibaka is going to wind up getting some extra minutes there, because Golden State is going to wind up going small, and Ibaka is going to match up much better against that lineup. So, if Clay plays, I still expect him to be limited. I wouldn't play him. I expect any ownership on him to be a fool's errand. And on the, I'm sorry, guys, the pain is, my brain keeps like shorting. Let me start again to do a summary here. I'm assuming that Clay is out, or that Clay is limited, right? If Clay is out, 99% of this offense is going to come down to Cousins, Curry, and Dre Green. Iguodala is going to get a lot to say as well, but Iguodala, is more of the guy that's going to be, the facilitator, and he's going to do a lot of facilitating because Curry is going to have to take a lot more shots, and Iguodala is going to have to handle a lot more, because he's the one who's going to have to do the catch and shoot duties, because Clay's not going to be there to do it, and that is a fundamental part to this Golden State offense. So I think that Cousins, Curry, and Green, you should try to lock in to your lineup. I can understand going with any one of them as your captain. I think any one of them would make for a fine captain. All of them should get a whole lot of points today. They are the three favorite plays I have on this slate. I would rather play those three Golden State guys than anybody else. Anybody on Toronto. I'd rather have those three than Kawhi. It's, for the pricing especially, as much as I like Kawhi, these guys without Clay, without Durant, are going to have to win this game by themselves. So I can see you get Iguodala in there. I can see you take a chance on like a McKinney. I can see you take a chance on a Quinn Cook. I do think that both of those guys, all those guys are decent options, albeit not the safest or best options. But I think that they are certainly feasible. So that is the Golden State side. That is basically who I'm going to be focusing on. On the Toronto side, I think that this does change a lot. I think that, again, they're going to have to go small. I think that this is better for Kawhi again. Well, you know what? Let me think. I think that this is tricky. I think that it's going to wind up being better for Kawhi because he's not really someone that can be guarded that. If you read that article about him, buckets. No. It's funny. He's a funny dude, man. Kawhi Leonard is a force, and we cannot rule him out for the 60 DKP he's going to put up. But I also, I think Serge Ibaka is going to be in a good spot. I think that Lowry is in a much better spot now without Klay Thompson. Like the entire defense of the Warriors just got significantly worse with Klay Thompson out. So I think that while we were worried about about in the first game, I talked about the guard defense against Curry and Clay, and how Lowry and Green were going to be able to shut them down, and now they're going to be able to focus more. And then on the other side, whereas Clay was able to go to wherever he needed to go defensively, as like a jack of all trades defensively, they are going to miss that option now. So, Lowry is not going to have as good a defense on him. Green's going to be more open for threes than he should be. Kawhi is overall going to be better than he should be. So I think that it's going to have a ripple effect, both offensively for Golden State and defensively for Toronto, and that you can consider players that you may not have considered before. I think that while it's never a safe bet to play a Danny Green, that it's not a terrible chance to take, because the person that's going to replace Clay is going to be so much worse than Clay defensively that it goes without saying that whoever, that the entirety of the guards on the team are going to be benefited by Clay's absence. And this is something to realize too, even if he plays, he's probably still going to be hobbled, right? Like a hobbled Clay might be even easier to take advantage of than whoever Clay's backup is going to be, right? So either way, we're going to have Lowry and Green at least in significantly better spots than we've seen them. I don't expect them to get more of a handle on the ball, but I would expect them to, or Nick Nurse, I should say, to take advantage of how much easier the matchup is going to be for them and try to take some of the weight off of Kawhi. I think that this is the game where Toronto would need to change up a little bit, and Clay's absence would give them the chance to maybe let Lowry do more playmaking. I don't think Cousins is going to be. I don't think Cousins is going to be limited enough that we have to worry about not playing him, right? Like Cousins at 28 minutes is fine. If Cousins is only going to get 28 minutes, 7,000 is still too cheap for him. Period. I would worry about minutes if Cousins was 10,000 for util, and we were paying like 15,000 for him for a captain. But again, like Steph Curry is 11,600 for the util spot. Draymond Green is 10,600 for the util spot. Kawhi Leonard is 11,800 for the util spot. Cousins is 10,800 for the captain spot. And he could outscore everybody today. You know, if they ramp him up from the 28 minutes to 35 minutes without Clay, who's going to be he might be the lead dog, if not the certain to be the secondary scorer behind Curry. Like, those two are going to be the dudes today if Clay is out or if Clay is hobbled. So, you know, while I would think that the defense against Curry gets tougher since they don't have to focus on him and Clay anymore, the defense on Cousins is going to maintain the same. And he showed last game what he can do to that. So, you know, I think that until we get the Clay news, things are going to be more up in the air. But I think that gave a pretty good summary of where I am in terms of Golden State and Toronto tonight. You know, I really do like a lot of the Toronto guys, more so with Clay out. I think that you can get, you know, an Ibaka in there. You can get a Siakam in there instead of Kawhi in case they do run it through Lowry. You can take a chance on a Lowry or a Danny Green today. You know, there's a lot there that you can take chances on, way more so than before, where, you know, if I'm building one lineup, I'm not taking a chance on a Lowry because he disappears with Kawhi. I'm not taking a chance on Danny Green. But this really does change the entire landscape. And Nick Nurse is if you don't know, Nick Nurse really is that good a coach. He really is that smart a coach. He really does understand how to take advantage of the situations that are presented to him. So, you know, that is where I'm at. And I hope I got to everything for you guys. I need to go take care of the pain. But thank you all for joining me for the hour, 40 minutes. I wanted to do this for an hour. So I love you all. Thank you so much. Best of luck today. And I'll catch you guys soon. Bye.